I think one of the things we have to identify is where the skill shortage is, particularly in which sectors it is and at what levels it is, and then we can actually work on the problem of addressing it. Part of the process is around the development of trailblazer standards, which are developed in conjunction with employers, so it's critical we get those right, and our organisation work actively with trailblazer groups to develop those standards. The other part of it, I suppose, is around traditional classroom-based qualifications as well, and how they could potentially contribute towards trailblazer standards at a later date, and whether they're fit for purpose for the sector. So I work with those types of qualifications, and I work with employers to make sure that they help to design those qualifications as well. Information, advice and guidance is limited in the country for encouraging learners to choose STEM-based careers. And they're not being able to make informed choices. The schools will deliver the curriculum that suits the school, and there's no way around that. And if we want to be able to support the needs of industry in the future, it's important that the sector actually involves themselves in speaking with schools, speaking with parents particularly as well, because they make a lot of decisions on the future, and seeing a STEM-based career as a viable alternative to the choices currently being made. I think it will come from the industry themselves. If the industry want to support the future resource needs, then it needs to come from them, and it's about working for the greater good. It's not about me coming to you talking about a qualification and please use our qualification. It's not about that. It's about thinking of the bigger picture, working cross-group, cross-awarding organisation, across different companies, across different training providers, whether it be the FE sector, whether it be private training providers, and actually developing a group of people who can work together, maybe initially small scale and regional, and then widening that out, probably with a bit of funding behind it, which we'll have to look at, and we'll have to lobby governments as a result, but trying to be able to join everything together to work for the greater good and for the future of the country, really, because that's what it boils down to. When we haven't got roads and hospitals as a result, we'll realise that we should have done something a little bit sooner. I think forums like this are essential in getting the conversation on the table with all the appropriate parties. You see the people who've been around the table today, and we all have to realise that we're in this together, and whether the final destination for these learners may be a level 2 or a level 3 occupation, or subsequently a graduate engineer doing a master's degree, that's up to the learner themselves. But as long as we speak to each other and have outcomes that suit the individual needs in the sectors we really need to support, because there will be a skills shortage if we don't do something about it, this forum will over time, if we can increase it and roll it out nationally and work together across the country, I think we could have a successful outcome. But it really needs to start soon, because when you look at things like the Engineering UK report, there is going to be a big shortfall in people choosing STEM-based careers. I think with respect to the IET particularly, I think they can set the standards for the sector. So when subsequent learners are completing engineering qualifications, we can ensure that we map our qualifications so the learners can apply for EngTech status, and the IET can feed into that by specifying the standards. So I think they're a valuable part of the group. With respect to sector skills councils, it's difficult to ascertain what the future role will be. Obviously, with the structure changing and the development, it's hard to know whether they will start to overlap more into an organisation activities. So it's really difficult for me to look at their direction of travel. They had a defined role before, and it was a funded role. They oversaw the apprenticeship frameworks and they issued them. But as that's more into employers' hands, and there will be the apprenticeships group formed, eventually the governance group, it's harder to see now where sector skills councils will sit in the picture. The main thing, and there's no way around this, is funding. The information, advice and guidance is not good enough, and there's people who can do that, but it's almost like at the moment we're expecting people to do that in their spare time. It's not a main function for each organisation, it's just part of the wider role. If we actually had funding and we could actually stipulate that this was your main function, and to actually grow the pipeline for engineering applications by looking at the 12, 13-year-olds in schools and enthusing them, getting the qualification development correct at that stage, so there's an alternative of 14 to something like design technology, which we are working on as an organisation, and we have done that. But actually getting that message out there as a defined role rather than a smaller piece of a larger role, I think we'd start getting the message across. So it's government funding that we're really crying out for information, advice and guidance.